Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Bob Power, and on behalf of OTC Markets Group, as well as our co-host, Amvest Capital, we're very pleased you've joined us for our next live presentation from Silver Tiger Metals. Before I introduce our speaker, a few points to note. Please submit your questions in the questions box to the bottom left of the slides. Once the Q&A session has ended, don't log out. You'll automatically be transferred into the Silver Tiger Metals booth, where you can continue to ask questions via chat and access additional shareholder materials. On a final note, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Glenn Jessome, Chief Executive Officer of Silver Tiger Metals, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol SLVTF and on the TSXV under the symbol SLVR. Welcome, Glenn.
Thank you, Bob, for that kind introduction, and good morning, everyone. And thank you for taking the time to hear about Silver Tiger and our LT Grade project in Sonora, Mexico. You can see it where it's located there, 80 miles or kilometers, I guess, from the U.S. border. The most important thing I like to lead with, it's always important about the asset, but if you did not have the team, you don't have the asset and you can't exploit it. A question I always look at when I'm investing in metal projects is, how long has the team been in the jurisdiction? How many mines have they built in that time and or developed? Our team has been working out of Halifax, Nova Scotia on the east coast of Canada for 25 years in Mexico. We've built 3 mines in that time. We've developed 2 more. Sold to majors, the last one 2 years ago being an asset that we sold to Agnico Eagle, which I'll be familiar with. We've built mines in Chihuahua, Durango, as you can see on the screen here, those provinces. This one just happens to be in Sonora. Let's talk about the asset first. Then we will basically introduce you to the team, tell you what we've done and what we're going to do. Most importantly, it's the assets. You're seeing it here. We have acquired a public company in 2017 at the bottom of the market called El Tigre Silver, traded on our TSX up here in Canada. We bought that asset for $11 million. You're looking at it. What you're looking at is a massive land package in the Sierra Madre. As I said, we're 80 kilometers from the U.S. border. To put it in perspective, that's 35-kilometer long land package, that red line I've driven. 25 kilometers of prolific Sierra Madre runs through it. But why we really acquired it is we've made a career out of finding big mines in Mexico and developing, and you'll hear about some on the next slide, around and under the old head frames of old Spanish and foreign-owned, in many cases, American mines. Right here in the very center of our claim package, where I put that red dot, was the old El Tigre mine, 1908 to 1930, 100 million silver equivalent ounces came out of that underground mine. We'll talk more about it. I'll show you underground models of it at an average grade of over 2 kilograms. It was that tenor of grade, thinking that it would repeat along this trend that led us to have to acquire this asset. My technical team told me that when we acquired it, and they did deliver this, that there was around the mined out old mine, 100-meter wide gold halo of mineralization from surface in an open pit bulk tonnage setting that they would give me a 43-101 resource on. They did that within a year of us acquiring it. That 1,000,000-ounce gold resource at good grade for an open pit has been delivered. But exciting, they said they saw the whole thing repeating to the north, 3 to 4 kilometers of the veins continuing north, same as at the old mine, had not been mined. And as a bonus, those intact veins were sitting in what they thought would be a wide band of gold mineralization also. We acquired that project on the basis of their preliminary work. We're very pleased that we did and got it for the value that we did. Other things we loved about it quickly, if you're not specifically knowledgeable in Mexico, there were some very wonderful things. A no ejido, which means no native peoples. All of our other projects, we dealt with that, but in this case, basically, we did not have to, so it was great. All you see inside the gold box, that's 30,000 hectares, which is a massive land package, is ranch land. We have agreements in place with all of the ranchers to exploit that land, explore that land. And as you can see here, and it says on the slide, the middle 6,200 hectares, we bought the land also. The rancher was willing to sell it. We bought that 2 years ago for $1.1 million, put that under our control. We are already proved to ourselves we have an economic deposit. Still lots of drilling and work to be done to prove it on paper, but our experience over 25 years tells us that we're moving in that direction. Lots of other things around in the neighborhood that we love. Number one, we still retain the full royalty. For those knowledgeable, they understand what that means. That will be of great value to us. We drive right into site. We drive up Federal Highway that goes to the U.S. Hermosillo is 2 hours south. Our technical teams have been based there for 25 years. We drive right to the mountain. A power line just through serendipity runs through our project for the large smelter for the copper mines around us at Nacasari. Lots of water on site, but I will show you this one slide here. We're 10, 12 kilometers from a very large water source in the Angostura Dam put in place by the Mexican government for the farmers in the valley there. Look, let's take a quick tour of the neighborhood, and I'm going to spin this map around so that we're really going to rotate it so that we're going to look fully to the west of us along this prolific Sierra Madre trend, and you'll see that coming up here. A couple of things I'd like to talk about here very quickly before we move on. And you can see this is Sierra Madre trend, runs for thousands of kilometers right down that ran through our project. It runs to the south. One mine I'm going to really put you on 125 kilometers from us. I just circled it. I just want to show you what this technical team is capable of. 4 years ago, we acquired out of our same group out of Halifax in another one of our public companies, Central Gratuitous. We paid $9 million for it, and we spent $9 million on it and only owned it for about 3 years. We drilled off the million-ounce resource that was there. The former owners were another public company, thought it was a moly deposit to a degree, and we sold that to Agnico Eagle about 2 years ago. Well, by the time the royalty was sold, it was about $110 million USD all in. A real feather in our team's hat, but shows the quality of work that this technical team can do on these low sulfidation epithermal systems in Mexico and do very quickly. I'm very lucky to have them helping me and us, explore and then exploit El Tigre. Cheesepaw, there's been, I think all of us would be very familiar with Cheesepaw. Cheesepaw, $3.3 million in 17-ish to $1.6 billion today. What I like to say about the two assets, and people wonder why El Tigre and Cheesepaw were there, that's Silvercrest's asset. It was very simple. These were big underground foreign-owned mines. 1900, 1930, 1929 came, and really what happened was silver went from $1.33 to 29, less than 20 cents, and the owners of Cheesepaw, foreign owners, went home. The American owners of El Tigre went home, and both of these sat for 80 years. Silvercrest dusted their asset off and drilled the mine extensions around that old mine that had not been completely mined out, and well, the rest is history. We're just getting ready to do that. We put this one under our control, and we're just getting ready to drill those mine extensions. We have to talk about team for a couple of moments and see track record, because I think that's much important, and then we'll move and talk about what we've done and what we're going to do and are currently doing. Dave Duncan, the 45-year-old geologist out of Halifax, 45-year career out of Halifax, had a lot of good discoveries under his belt. The last before he came to see me was Yuga and Agbo, the Etruscan Resources. That last company he was with sold to Endeavour Mining, big Vancouver mining company. There are still core assets in production for that company. I'm a securities lawyer by training. My job for the group is to build the public companies and then acquire other public companies like we did with El Tigre, or when we got Central Gratuitous, which I talked about earlier, we sold to Agnico as part of a takeover of those companies. Dave wanted his own public company, and thus we built him Silver Tiger. We did not go back to Africa where his skill set was. We went and we married it up with a team that we'd been working on in Halifax at that point for over 20 years, led by Ramon Luna. And Ramon, basically, to his credit with us, all with us, had built Ocampo out of Halifax as the first mine the group built in Mexico. That went to a $2.2 billion market cap. El Cubo, we mined that for a long time, and in due course was sold to Endeavour Silver for $250 million. Drilled off the Orion project, which was sold to Capital Gold. In turn, that Capital Gold acquired for that asset by Alamos. And I told you about Sandra Gratuitous. This team did that, put that whole package together and worked on it. And I'm very lucky to currently have them working with us to explore, as I said, and exploit the El Tigre asset. Let's go and talk about the next slide. I'm going to kind of orient what we're going to be talking about. We have 35-kilometer long land package. We're going to focus today and talk only about, for the next 10 or 15 minutes, this 6 to 7 kilometers, which we call, the brownfields part of our exploration. There's the old El Tigre mine. You can see 1.5 kilometers. We're going to talk more about that. Even though it had already been mined out, we quickly drilled off 1 million ounces in basically the gold halo around it in an open pit from surface setting. Many more high-grade ounces to be added in there. We'll talk about that. This is the immediate prize in front of us where we've done the mapping and sampling in the next 3 to 4 kilometers going north. These veins scream north and south for over 10 kilometers, but this is where we've done enough work now that we currently have a drill rig here has been turning for 3 weeks, and a drill rig here in the middle of the those unmined veins to the north. Same veins, as you can see them continuing. At the last of our program to test that, we've drilled many multi-kilo holes of silver up here, the highest being a meter of 10 kilos. At the end of our last drill program, 7.3 kilos of that real silver. We'll talk about that, but just to set the stage, we're excited. And really the other part, everything that's up here is also these intact veins, not mined, are sitting in that wide El Tigre structure, which I'll talk about next, and you can really see on that scale. Let's go to the geological plan map. I think that'll be one where we can start to really, see what's happening up here and why it's happening and what we're doing. That's the geological plan map. Look, this is something that, low sulfidation epithermal systems, our team has been working on for 25 years. Exactly what El Tigre is. Exactly what our Ocampo mine was. It is exactly what Cheesepot to the south of us is, the Silvercrest asset. So really we're working on what we're used to. It's always the same. There's an upper volcanic, Geology 101 here, a lower volcanic, and that transition zone in between usually, and in this case called the yellow rock I call it, but it's called the El Tigre structure. That's where these deposits are. What's really interesting to see here is you can see the old mine. I'll circle it. We're going to talk about that. Mined out mine, super high grade, 100 million silver equivalent ounce come out of it at over 2 kilos. We still delivered very quickly within a year that 1 million ounce gold resource in the 43-101. This is exciting here. That's the unmined veins. We're up there now drilling, and we'll talk about some of the things we're expecting up here. Look, I'm not going to try to go too deep into the geology, but why was this old El Tigre mine here? It was here because the El Tigre and the sites, that Caleigh vein, came together and got mined by the old timers. That was the Clavos, the high-grade ore shoot. What we were very excited about and knew when we acquired this is we saw those same veins coming together in the north that had not been mined. And, our hunting was this would be the first place that you would see another one of these ore shoots developing. Look, big deposits in Mexico, you have to understand, are not just one big pit, one big mine. They usually are along the trend like this, tenor of grade being important, where you see 1, 2, 5, 6, 8 of these things repeating to create what we call a district, and that's really what we think is developing here. If you go look at Pinos Altos, a Agnico big mine that's been operating for more than 30 years, and you see these multiple pits over 10 kilometers, that's how these big systems in Mexico develop, and that's what we were hunting for when we bought this, and so far so good, improving that out. Look, this is a very interesting slide, a very powerful slide as far as I'm concerned. One of the best in the deck. For me as a layperson, I'm a securities lawyer, been in this industry for 25 years myself, building public resource companies. But just to look at this was the moment when I realized, when we built this model, just how prolific this mine was. And if we find some more, which we think we will, like this, how valuable they'll be. The old El Tigre mine, the old timers, the Americans, 1908 to 1930. They went underground, 14 levels. You can see them. They went down to a depth of 450 meters, chasing that. The black you see is the stope. That's what they took out. I'm going to switch this so you can look at this from plan view. And you're looking down at the top. You'll see there, that's the 3 veins that they mined, the Sui, the El Tigre, and the sites Caleigh. But what you also see there is that stope almost disappeared. They were after stuff that was less than a meter. It was super high grade. We're seeing some of that to the north in the intact veins in our initial drilling. Where the two veins came together, it was not uncommon to see 10, 20, 30, 50 kilos silver per ton, incredible grade, and we think that tenor is going to hold across the district as we explore, and for the next 3 or 4 years. This is a long process, and we'll show you how we're rolling that out. What we also knew, to short circuit very quickly, is the old timers wanted nothing to do with it, but we knew around that old mine that's 100 meter wide. That's our resource. That's 1 million ounces. You can see right there of a gold resource. We only drilled off one of the veins. We'll get back and drill off the other two here shortly. But what you can see there is it goes down about 150 meters. I think the next slide, and we'll go there very quickly. We've got to move. We only got 10 or 12 minutes left here to get it all in. You can see our drilling. We drilled 12,000 meters. We bought 10,000 from the public company, and that really led to us very quickly putting the 1 million ounces on the books. Quickly, that pit is just 25% of the way done. It was done at $1,250 gold, our study. We haven't drilled off the eastern vein, the site's Caleigh. The Suey was where they stopped mining. Remember, they all went home because of the Great Depression. Cheesepaw and El Tigre. We know that this vein here, Cheesepaw, this Suey vein on the west, continues for 1.5 kilometers to the south. We're going to add lots more high grade here. The old timers only went down to a depth of 450 meters. We'll get back, basically, this thing, we think, we have a hole down at 700 meters, goes for a full kilometer. And I think if I show you this view, you'll see that's where the old timers stopped. This thing, in our experience, we have a hole at 700 meters, great mineralization. We'll get down underground with some deep drilling. This pit will become much more than 1 million ounces. The grade will go way up. We'll do some geotechnical drilling. We'll move it towards PEA here probably by next summer. The strip will go down. Great underpinning for our asset. For our asset, we're getting from the analysts, lots of analyst coverage on us already, about $80 million for the first million, and we're only 25% of the way done. But here's the exciting part. That's great to have that takes us out of just being a pure exploration company drilling a hole here and there. Let's talk about the north, where we see the real immediate prize coming. I'm going to orient everybody here. You're now looking, the old mine, we halfway done drilling off resource there, real resource, ounces on the books, 43,101. It's going to become much better in the next 6 to 8 months. But it's this 3 kilometers to the north, and that the mine you can see going south. This is the unmined veins we talked about. We've done our most work. Very exciting. At the end of our last program, and you can see here what I showed you, where those veins, same veins coming together again. We think creating another Clavos like the old El Tigre mine. We drilled a couple of holes at the end of our last program. Very exciting. I'm going to show you a cross-section of this one. Hole 144, 50 meters from surface in that first vein we intersected was a meter of 10 kilos silver. We let the drill go another 50 meters, all of this daylights. I'll show you that in the next slide. We basically, intercepted a meter and a half of a kilo. So our first drill started back with our current program, middle of September, and we're drilling steadily out here. We're weeks from those first results coming out, so that will be exciting to get those back out in the market for us. The second drill that's on site now is basically, we had another hole up here close to surface, a meter and a half of over 20 grams per ton gold. 1.2 of it was silver. So our second drill has been about 3 weeks cutting up here. A third drill is now on site. It will start drilling this weekend. It will be joining, and I can't tell you exactly where, but we call it joining the fight here to the north. And depending on results, it will either come in and start drilling here where we think that new Clavos is forming, or on these high-grade veins to the north. The amazing part is, when you look at this, is you're probably looking in that 3 kilometers, and we've mapped, sampled all, we walk on them, probably at 10 kilometers of strike length right there. So much targets for us to explore. This is going to kind of paint the picture in the last couple of minutes, and then we'll talk about money and structure. What we really see up there, this is a cross-section cartoon of that last drill hole, or one of the last ones we drilled in the end of our last program, hole 144. And it really shows you what the geology is like up here. The first thing I'd like to kind of allude to is you can see everything daylights all the way along those 3 kilometers, just like at the old mine, and going south and north outside of the brownfields I've talked about. We sample the veins at surface, which is very good. And we actually, that alteration zone of gold, I'm going to talk about that El Tigre formation, that yellow rock. The only reason we have that 1,000,000 ounces down at the old mine in the 43-101, the veins were gone, is because outside of these veins, the gold, gram, gram and a half, disseminates for up to 50, 60 meters on each side. So really, the exciting part for us is what we're going to try to prove up here. Look, we got 50 meters from surface. We got a meter or 10 kilos in here, in that 3 meters of 36 grams per ton gold. 70, 80, 90 meters from surface, we picked that up. All of the veins up here basically had some very good high-grade silver hits. I mean, I think this one was 1.5 meters of 2.2. But why we drilled hole 144 was to test exactly what our theory is, that this is the same El Tigre formation. We know it, that has that 100 meter of a gram, gram and a half gold outside of the silver, high-grade silver veins. Silver veins being 80% silver, 20% gold. And look, we cut that at the end of the last program, 26 meters of exactly what we're looking for. So our drilling up here is to start to prove that the old El Tigre mine was backwards. The old-timers came in and went right underground and went after that high grade. They wanted nothing to do with the meter on each side of that super high grade vein. They certainly didn't want the 100 meters of low grade gold halo, but we did. So if we found the old El Tigre mine to the south today, we never would have went underground first. We would have taken the top 150 meters where we drilled off that pit out with the high grade veins, and then gone underground for another 3/4 of a kilometer, because we do think that, what we see here is that's how deep this thing will go. But what we're going to be proving here in our drill, let's say that's the first drill I told you about, that's right in the middle of where those veins came together in the last slide, about 1.7 kilometers north in the unmined veins of the old mine. And the cuts will be like this. You're going to see them, and not only will we, with these, intercept, the Caleigh here, and maybe get a cut at the Protectora, but we are going to have to, like we did at the old mine, assay the 40, 50 meters on each side of the high-grade veins that are intact up here, because we expect here is where we're going to get that halo that's going to be, not proven yet, but to ourselves we've proved it, where we think that we will be able, not all of it up there, but we will be able to start to delineate pits around, because of this El Tigre formation, this broad halo of mineralization of gold around the high-grade intact silver veins. So we'll do it the right way this time once we prove it. We'll take out the top 100, 125, 150 meters where it allows us with the high-grade veins and the alteration zone, and then, of course, where the veins tighten up and go to great depths for up to a kilometer. At that point, then you would transition to underground. That's the theory. That's what we're proving. 2 more slides before we take questions. This is an incredible slide, I think, for me, and gets us so excited as an exploration team. All we've talked about is the brownfields, a tiny little bit of our project. This is 25 kilometers all on our land package. 25 kilometers. To put in perspective, and I'm going to circle it, there's where the old mine is. I circled it, where we drilled off 1,000,000 ounce around the mined out mine, and we're 25% of the way down. We'll add high grade in there. We'll go deeper underground. It's open to the south, as you can see in that El Tigre structure. This is the 3 or so kilometers to the north, where we have 2 drills turning, and another couple of days the third one. What we've done now is we've got boots on the ground, the best exploration. We've gone north for 15 kilometers. We've already mapped and sampled the same veins for another 6 or 7. There's 2 more mines on our project up here, high-grade gold and silver. We've been in them. We've gone all the way down to the south, another 13 kilometers. We've discovered 2 other mines down here, all in that same beautiful yellow Tigre structure, high-grade gold and silver. And we've actually had to add 5,000 hectares to our land package. Not that I wanted to, because when we got our geologists on the other side of the mountain, you can see that layer, that beautiful 150-meter layer thick of the El Tigre structure came out on the other side, and we're seeing the veins repeat. The point I love is this is all the brownfields where we're working. You're going to see for the next 6 to 8 months we're going to focus on that, but this has never had a drill bit, ever. 15 kilometers, 5 kilometers, and 15 kilometers more. We've got the geos going out there now, map and sample, get ahead of it for 6 months, and we'll basically, maybe next spring, second quarter, you're going to see the first drill holes coming out of here from what we call all of this, the green fields with the brown fields in the middle. But right now, the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, we're going to tend to our knitting, and here's our knitting. It's that middle portion of our claim, that 6 kilometers I talk about, the brown fields. You're going to see 2 things. You're going to see high-grade results coming out from the north where this drill is turning, this drill, a third drill is coming here. I can't tell you exactly if it's going to be here or here, but the geologists will figure that out in the next few days based on results. You're going to see the high-grade results coming out, and then later, because it takes a little longer, you hope to see some of these, not only the high-grade veins, the silver veins, but there's 40, 50, 60, 80 meters, whatever it gets to be, of a low-grade gold mineralization around that from surface, which will lead us to start to get down the road to delineating some pits up here. Look, we're never going to forget about this. This is where we've got that 1 million ounces already on the books. It's a beautiful asset. It's 25% of the way done. The Sui vein, the one on the west, was never mined. We never drilled it. We drilled one of the 3 veins. That resource is going up in grade, up in ounces, and the strip will come down, and then we'll transition and start to look at the 500 or 600 meters below the old mine that were never mined by the old timers. So that's really where we are. We're well funded. We have $11 million in the bank. We did that raise end of July, early August. It was Eric Sprott, $4 million of it. 8 institutional resource funds took all of the rest. They actually offered $25 million, but that was too much for us to take. We owed it to our shareholders to get up here and drill with that first $10 million and really set our value before we took that kind of money and looked at that dilution. So it's nice to be well funded. We're well funded for the next 20,000 meters. Who owns the stock? Well, I like to tell, I'm the largest shareholder. I have about 13 million shares under my control with stock options, etc. But I'm really pleased that my management team, those guys who've been in Mexico, I talked about the technical team. We own as a management team over 15% of the company. I think that's very, very important because we're vested and we're working hard for our shareholders and ourselves. Look, everybody asks, what are we going to do? We've learned in Mexico one thing over 25 years. We control one thing. We can build a mine. We've done it 3 times. So all we're going to do is drill tens of thousands of meters here and here. We're going to add ounces, and then we're going to move them towards economics. The first thing you'll see will be a PEA at some point next year coming out on the first resource around the old mine, because that's the only way that we can go forward. That's the only way that creates real value. I get nervous right now. I'm trading 120 million or so market cap, and my NAV they're giving me, the analyst, is only 80. I always want to keep my NAV, real ounces in the ground, moving towards economics as close to my market cap as possible. And that's what we're going to do. Everybody asks about drill results. When they're coming, we're going to be putting out some drill results. But my answer is the drill results are coming for the next 3 or 4 years. That's the way we always approach these projects, and that's how we're going to go forward. Thank you very much. I think we've got a couple of minutes only for questions, but that's El Tigre. One thing I will say, though, Verify.com hosts all of our 3D model, our 3D slide deck you're looking at, Verify.com. Get on there, and I've gone through about 1% of the information we've put. Thank you. I have a question here from a Ray Tierney. Can you speak to your milestones in the next 12 months and capital position? I think that we have $11 million we raised in August, so we have 10 million Canadian in the bank. That's enough to drill the next 20,000 meters. There are 3 drills turning here, which will be delineating as they go, more resource to add. There'll be a 4th drill come in here very soon, and we'll start basically adding ounces here. We do one thing in milestones: add ounces under a 43-101 and move them towards economics. Those are our milestones. Are there any other questions? I don't see any more. Yeah, we're very excited about this asset. The real hard work, my management team tells me, the easy part is now. And I asked them what they meant, is we're in the Sierra Madre. We've rebuilt the camp fully. We're in there in June, July, and August. The Mexican government put us back on the mountain as an essential service. All new sanitation. We have a bubble camp because of where our camp is located. We drive right to it. There's no communities around us, no people, and I own all the land in the middle part where the brownfields are. So we have a medical staff testing for COVID. People like to know about that. Everyone on the way in is tested. We've not had any incident. We've tripled the size of the core shack, all new sanitation. There's almost 100 people up there on the mountain as we speak now, running 3 drills going to 4. before. So very excited to get at the asset. But the hard part was really acquiring this at the bottom of the market and raising the first $20 million in 17 and 18 when no one really cared about silver like they do now. And that allowed us to drill off that resource here, understand what made this thing tick, deliver 1 million ounces in the 43-101, and do all the work here so that when the market has turned and capital is available, now we can attack this knowing everything about it and try to prove that it's another one. And along that greenfields I talked about, do we think that this is the last Clavos when we're looking at, 25 kilometers here? Look, we'll be, my geos like to tell me they'll be exploring this asset long after you're dead, Mr. Jessome, and we think that that's the case with this district. I see no more questions, and I think we're out of time. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to hear about LT Gray.